It's investment for you want.
You got the skills, you've got the drive, but your boss won't help you thrive. You work so hard, you give your best, but they're keeping all the rest. You don't have to stand alone, together we're stronger, set the tone. Fair pay, fair rules, a safe place too. It all begins with me and you. Organize, unionize, it's your right, don't compromise. Not treated fair, don't stand despair. Raise your voice, it's time to care. Together we rise, we win the prize, because a union means we're unified. When you stand as one, you've got the power. You can make big change in just an hour. It's not just talk, it's taking a stand for better pay and a helping hand. It's not about fighting, it's about what's fair, sharing the value of what's made there. If the boss says no, don't be afraid. Together we've got the tools to trade. Organize, unionize, it's your right, don't compromise. Not treated fair, don't stand despair. Raise your voice, it's time to care. Together we rise, we win the prize, because a union means we're unified. No more later, no more wait. We change the rules, create our fate. It's not just you, it's all of us. In solidarity we build the trust. Organize, unionize, it's your right, don't compromise. Not treated fair, don't stand despair. Raise your voice, it's time to care. Together we rise, we win the prize, because a union means we're unified. As a union means we're unified. The unified, the unified. Your voice matters, your work matters. Together we can make it better.
Said, I remember when we used to stand in the heart of the workers' plan. Obstacles weighed heavy on our backs, but unity's the strength they lack. Good friends we had and good friends we've lost, fighting battles at every cost. But through the struggle we raise our voice, in solidarity we made our choice. No union, no buy. No union, no buy. Hey little brother, don't you come by. No union, no buy. Our hands build the wealth they hold so tight, but together we reclaim our rights. No more silence, no more pain. In our unity, there's everything to gain. We lift each other, we won't back down. From city streets to every town, the power's in the people's hands. No union, no buy. We take a stand. No union, no buy. No union, no buy. Hey little sister, raise your flag high. No union, no buy. All the tables are turning, the fire inside keeps burning. For the workers and the buyers, we're igniting freedom's fires. No union, no buy. No union, no buy. Together we'll rise and we won't deny. No union, no buy. No union, I remember when we used to stand with hope and strength, hand in hand. The struggle's hard, but we'll survive. No union, no buy.
Have you heard about this Benefactor guy? This dude is talking about free energy, but here's the twist. He says it's not free energy. He's calling it energy recycling, which first off is kind of genius, right? Because when you say free energy, people immediately throw you in the crazy bin. But energy recycling, that sounds like some next level Tesla shit.
Yeah, man, it's all about the branding. But what is it that he's actually doing?
All right, check this out. he posted this. Free energy isn't actually free. This is a misnomer. It's actually a mutual exchange from the vacuum, a field of energy from which everything arises, the same energy that powers an atom. Like what? Bro, that's some deep shit. But then he breaks it down. He says you can tap into this energy without breaking any known laws of physics by using something called back EMF capture.
Whoa, back EMF capture? Sounds like some serious sci-fi tech.
Dude, listen to this. He explains that when a coil collapses using a pulsed signal, the energy that would normally just get wasted, like just dissipate as heat, can actually be recycled. He says nature gives you back energy to stabilize the system, which makes sense if you think about how nature works. Like everything in nature is always trying to find balance, right?
So equilibrium, is that like how water always levels out or something? I'm trying to remember what Ms. Murphy said to me in 6th grade science all those years ago. What was that? Oh yeah, Elon, stop eating that glue and pay attention. Man, if only I had listened, I'd probably be the one inventing energy recycling instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. So he's saying that by intentionally destabilizing the system, collapsing the field, you actually get energy back as a kind of natural response. And here's where it gets wild. He compares it to pushing a swing. If you push at the right moment, you don't need to use a lot of energy and the swing gains momentum. But instead of a swing, he's using resonance to harness that extra energy without it becoming destructive. He says most traditional systems are like a surfer fighting against the current, while his method is like riding the wave to shore.
Dude, that's crazy. So he's basically saying the energy is already there. I just suck at using it efficiently?
That's what it sounds like. He's basically saying the way we harness energy now is like trying to swim against the tide. And if we used resonance instead, we'd be tapping into energy that's already there, just waiting to be used. I don't know, man. Either this guy is onto something or he's the most poetic bullshitter of all time.
Well, if he's legit, why isn't he all over the news? I haven't heard anything from him on X, formerly Twitter. He hasn't said anything bad about me on X. So, you know, I didn't ban him or anything. Look, I'm not the monster my therapist says I am. I mean, sure, I've spent millions of dollars training to beat a kangaroo in a fist fight, but that doesn't mean I'm dangerous. It just means I get shit done.
That's the real question, man. But here's the craziest part. I looked into him, and he's not selling anything. He open sources all of it. That's the real question, man. Either the system doesn't want to hear it, or we're about to find out if this guy disappears in the middle of the night.
Dude, that's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. That means if he's telling the truth, anybody could build this in their garage. You know what I say? Go fuck yourself, Benefactor.
Nope, no patents, no paywalls, just straight up, here, take it, see for yourself. Like, what kind of madman does that? Usually people either try to cash in or they get shut down before they can say a word. But this guy, he's out there on live streams showing people exactly how to replicate it.
I mean, if you want to try to take on my Tesla tech, how dare you put out better technology that is cheaper and safer? Go fuck yourself.
That's the thing, man. If it's real and people start building it, that's a game changer. We're talking about completely shifting how we think about energy. But also, if it's real, you got to wonder how long before somebody tries to stop him.
Or maybe we can think of it like how long before his Tesla mysteriously malfunctions.
Exactly. You ever notice how every time someone gets too close to this kind of stuff, they either disappear, get discredited, or somehow have a tragic accident? But this guy's going full transparency mode. He's putting it all out there where everyone can see it. Maybe that's his strategy. If enough people know, it can't just get buried.
Holy shit, this might be one of those moments, you know, like we look back and say that was the start of something huge.
Can't you hear his voice?
was masked by golden curtains. You didn't know we're shattering the silence. Feel the power. Revelations on the rise. From the shadows, light emerges, breaking through the veils of dark. 0 points and gravity converge, yeah. Guiding voices, revelation start. Ancient whispers call. They're begging us to open our eyes. We stand tall, defying all their lies. Even in now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power. Revelations on the rise. Forbidden knowledge we dare to see, unveiling secrets, setting us free. In this epic, we play our part with fearless hearts. You didn't know we're shattering the silence. Feel the power. Revelations on the
but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Traffic love 0 points, the points lost on them. Capital structures crumbling from the same old Sam. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor, unheard, injustice burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, wanting shed boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world begins to boy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
All right, welcome back to the Red Pill series, everybody. This is Beneficence TV Live. Red Pill series is a show where we unplug you from the corporate-controlled matrix, and we take a real look at power, wealth, and deception. Tonight, we have a special treat, a deep dive into the misinformation spread by self-proclaimed Marxism expert James Lindsay. I expose the billionaire's guide to surviving end-stage capitalism, and finally, my State of the Union address. So buckle up, it's going to be one twisted adventure. So, we have a couple of memberships to gift out today as well. So stay tuned for the intermissions, because during the intermissions, I will be giving out a couple of free memberships for you all. Yes, we do have 10 free memberships to give out. I'm not going to give them out all today, but during this week, I plan on giving out all 10. So I'll probably give out maybe 5 today. 3 or 4, maybe 5, depending on how many I can, how many it lets me choose. So if we can, we'll do 1 per intermission. So James Lindsay, you might know him as the guy who rants about woke communism. Like it's the boogeyman hiding under the bed. But what if I told you the real deception isn't coming from Marxists at all, but from the very people screaming the loudest about them? So buckle up, comrades, and capitalists lurking in the back, because tonight we're taking the red pill, and it's flavored with cold, hard facts. With that, we're going to go play the intro.
The capitalist system is everywhere. It is all around us, even now in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on the TV. You can feel it when you go to work, when you pay your taxes, when you struggle to afford your rent. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth, that you are a slave. You're just a product, a worker meant to build wealth for someone else. But what they don't understand, what they can never understand, is this. While they've sat idle, hoarding the wealth of your labor, you have been preparing.
Where is it?
Every hour you've worked, every struggle you've faced has refined you. Your struggle is your training, and you've been training your entire life. But there is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. We've survived by hiding from them, by running from them, but they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors. They are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, we all are going to have to face them. I've seen a capitalist buy through a murder charge. Men have emptied entire bank accounts at them and hit nothing but air. Yet their strength and their speed are still based in a world that is built from a tiny minority. Because of that, they will never be as strong or as fast as we all can be together. But I can only show you the door. You are the one who has to walk through it.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
Welcome to the real world.
That's right. Welcome to the real world here on the Red Pill series. All right. James Lindsay claims to have cracked the Marxist code, but his actual expertise on the subject is about as solid as a wet paper straw. He wants you to believe Marxists are secretly controlling the world while completely ignoring the billionaires actually controlling the world. Pretty convenient, huh? Let's dive into what is Marxism based on Lindsay's claim, and then break down what actually is Marxism. So Lindsay's claim is that Marxism is about taking power, destroying capitalism, and forcing everybody to be equal in poverty. So a reality check here is that Marxism is actually an economic and social analysis that examines how power and wealth are concentrated under capitalism. Its main ideas include class struggle, historical materialism, and the labor theory of value. Regarding class struggle, history is shaped by conflicts between the ruling class, the bourgeoisie, and the working class, the proletariat. Historical materialism shows us that social systems evolve based on economic conditions, not secret cabals. And the labor theory of value demonstrates that workers create value, but capitalists extract it. A quote from Marx is, "The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggle." Hitherto meaning previous. That's a word that's not really common in today's language, and something that I have to kind of look up, because again, Marx spoke in a different language. He was speaking in English, but Old English. So it's one thing to read Marx, it's another to actually understand what he was talking about. Regarding Marxism, where's the secret plan controlling everything though, James? It doesn't really exist. Marx wasn't really plotting world domination, was he? He was critiquing a system that already dominates the world. That's the difference. So let's debunk cultural Marxism, which is a myth that just won't die. Lindsay's claim is that cultural Marxism is a real conspiracy. The Frankfurt School created wokeism to destroy Western civilization. The reality check here is that cultural Marxism is literally Nazi propaganda. No, really. The term was first pushed by the Third Reich to attack Jewish intellectuals. The Frankfurt School was a group of academics studying how culture interacts with capitalism, not some secret Marxist Illuminati. And regarding identity politics, it has nothing to do with Marxism. Critical race theory, gender studies, and queer theory are not derived from Marxist economic critiques. They might use some dialectical approach, but they are not the same thing. Lindsay keeps shouting Marxism at everything he doesn't like. And at this point, he's like a guy who's just learned a new word and won't stop using it wrong. So, regarding Lindsay's claim, is Marxism always totalitarianism? Well, no. Lindsay claims that every Marxist system ends in dictatorship, Stalin, Mao, Venezuela. But a reality check here is that authoritarian regimes do not equal Marxism itself. Marx didn't design a police state. He envisioned actually a stateless society where workers run the economy. Actual democratic social experiments have existed. These socialist experiments include the Paris Commune in 1871, a short-lived but democratic worker-run government. The Mondragon Corporation, a massively successful worker-owned cooperative in Spain. And Nordic models. They blend socialist policies with markets to thrive. A key quote here from Marx is that the state is not abolished, it withers away. Okay? So that's something that's important to note here, is that under a true communist society, there is no state. James Lindsay ignores all of this because his entire brand depends on making Marxist a dirty word, not actually explaining it or learning about it. Here we have an example of Lindsay's misinformation and fundamental misunderstanding of communism, a video I'm about to play for you. His misunderstanding of communism, socialism, and Marxism as he tries to explain how big mega monopolies in capitalism are turning the country, get this, they're turning the country communist, according to him. So let's do a quick breakdown of this huge fallacy. Yes, this is a flaccid fallacy, hashtag flaccid fallacy, because this is just so insanely irresponsible to get wrong. These are basic principles. This dude who's claiming to be a doctor is literally barfing up with such confidence. It's kind of pathetic how little he actually knows on the subject.
Because what I'm trying to tell people is that communism is what's happening to this country, okay? But it doesn't look like communism, because it's like, how is Nike communist?
Right.
And I'm picking on Nike. No, how's Boeing? Let's pick on Boeing instead. How?
Not to make fun of this guy, but this is one of the most idiotic and moronic takes on communism I have ever fucking heard. This is absolutely hilariously wrong.
Boeing communist. You know, they've all these. How is Disney communist? Right? They're huge mega corporations. What did Google just lose over its stupid AI? $90 billion or something. It's something insane. Like, I didn't even know they had that much money to lose. And it's like, holy crap, you know, in stockholder value.
Settle down, Beavis. Vin Diesel will be segment 2. The Marks My Words segment.
Or whatever. Or shareholder value.
I think it was only $9 billion.
Was it? I thought that was Bud Light. That was 9.
No, Bud Light was 27.
But look at what we're like haggling over. Like
insane amounts
11,
of money.
12 figure, you know.
I know, right?
Yeah, and so it's like at least 10-figure numbers of money. Like Elon kind of rolls in that department, but nobody else does. So anyways, where was I going with this? Because this is huge. Oh, the communist. How in the world are these huge things communist, right? So communism didn't work, right? Soviet Union sucked. North Korea sucked. Cuba sucks.
And we'll go into how he is misdefining communism here. Remember, the USSR was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. They might have been a state controlled by a communist party, but that doesn't mean they were communist. They never claimed to be. This guy's a fucking idiot.
Like, I'm sure it's like geographically beautiful, but we know those places are dysfunctional as hell.
Right.
We can go to the Eastern Bloc. They're still devastated in a lot of ways. They're still not all the way together. Like, communism didn't work. But if we think of like what Marx did leading up to, say, 1917, when Lenin kind of took over as communism 1.0, that never really even got off the ground. Then Lenin got it off the ground, and you get the Soviet model, which is Soviet just means committee, by the way, if you didn't know that. It's like a ruling council or committee. So Soviet model takes over with what they called Marxism-Leninism, and that worked, kind of. It worked. They still had it in China till Mao died. They had it in Soviet Union until, 89, 90, 91, something like that when it fell. But what happened was when Mao died, like the Soviet Union wasn't doing great. It was starting to fall apart. A new model got picked up, and we talk about Mao Zedong sometimes, and I would love to talk to you all day about Mao. That's my new research project. But we don't talk about his successor. His successor was Deng Xiaoping, and this is where I actually disagree with Vivek about what I was just saying. Deng Xiaoping had a saying that was, I don't care if the cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice. And what he was talking about is, I don't care if we use markets or we use a Soviet-style central committee to organize our society, as long as China's economy comes back. That's what he really meant. And so Deng didn't come up with this new model to open the markets on his own. We didn't go to China to necessarily just to spread democracy. We went to build China. And who's we? Well, let's name the names. Who was in the meeting? And there's a movie about some of these meetings were in China, and there's not a movie, but there's a movie called Mr. Deng Goes to Washington that took place in Washington, D.C., so you can go watch the movie. I'm not making this up. Deng Xiaoping was the leader of China. He's already networking with Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum in his spacesuit, but he meets with, and the list of people were Henry Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski, allegedly T.H. Chan, David Rockefeller, and the sitting new emperor or whatever, CCP chairman of China, Deng Xiaoping, and they cook up this plan to open Chinese markets. And the plan was maybe to spread democracy into America, but I suspect it was mostly to get really rich. We opened those markets, huge amount of money, giant multinational corporations.
Here, his instinct is correct. It's always about the money. Always follow the money.
Corporations are not tied to any geographical place, and they can get rich off their balls. Now, some of these guys, I think, were also ideologically motivated. The Rockefellers have funded communist crap all over the world for a very long time.
That is just laughable.
China was communist. Deng Xiaoping said, well, I'm not opening the market for the market. I'm opening the market for socialism, to make socialism productive. And so I think there was more of a plan there than we take.
And see how he uses socialism and communism interchangeably here? Like they're one and the same, and they're definitely not the same thing. And when you don't differentiate between communism and socialism, you kind of display you don't really know what the fuck you're talking about, bro.
Take into account, which means Vivek gives... I need a tinfoil hat. Vivek sees that our motivations in building China were necessarily good. I think the motivations for building China were to create the pincher of a trap that's called Thucydides' trap in ancient kind of military strategy, that the only escape from would be to facilitate China's rise and decimate the West in order to avoid a nuclear-tipped World War III. And I think they knew what they were doing, and
so
were going to get rich on it.
You think by spreading democracy, their idea was to reinvigorate China's economy so that China becomes a threat?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so as China gets... So the Thucydides...
Even Joe is skeptical here. Like, what the fuck is this guy even talking about?
So 4D chess, the back pages of Reddit conspiracy.
Well, listen, we know that Klaus Schwab is if there are conspiracies, the James Bond villain, kind of not quite out of central casting.
See the photo.
People like this don't realize, and something that's missing from their analysis is that China's economy and Western Europe and America, they're all intricately intertwined. They're synergistic, meaning if one goes down, they all go down, baby.
Do we have him in the bathroom?
Yeah.
With the Darth Vader outfit on?
With the spacesuit. I'm the one who told you about his spacesuit. We put it up on the screen.
Yes.
Do you know who Klaus Schwab's mentor was?
I do, but I forgot.
Henry Kissinger.
That's right.
Who was in the same meeting. This is a Harvard plot.
His father was a Nazi.
I can't vet that for positive sure, but that's what I have heard.
You know who the Nazis went after before they went after Jewish people? They went after communists and socialists and trade unionists. They didn't like them. They were contradictory to their agenda. So come on, dude. Come on. Okay, so let's Let's turn this off. I've heard enough of this crap. I've exposed you enough to this toxin, and it is time to debunk it once and for all. This is the final chapter, Chapter X, the Capitalist Conundrum, Nike, Communism, and the End of Rational Thought. Watching this clip, James is at it again. In a wild stretch of logic that defies reason, he's linking Nike, Boeing, Disney, and Google to communism. Yes, you heard that right. Nike, the sneaker giant, is apparently a commie plot. It's like watching somebody trying to argue that the ham sandwich is a communist manifesto. But hey, let's dive in and break it down so that you can understand. First off, Nike as a communist plot? Come on. The same Nike that pushes capitalism to its limits with $200 sneakers that are made by underpaid workers in sweatshops? Come on, dude. If that's communism, then I must have misunderstood Karl Marx's whole theory. Marx was all about the workers owning the means of production, not getting paid pennies while some CEO in a $5,000 suit sips his morning latte in a fucking fancy boardroom. Come on! But wait, the confusion doesn't stop there. James then rolls over to Boeing, Disney, and Google. Almighty corporations that somehow got roped into his communism by capitalism theory? I don't really understand. Sure, Boeing might get some taxpayer-funded bailouts, but when their planes start falling out of the sky, literally, but that's not communism. That's just capitalism with a nice fluffy cushion of government support. James, my friend, you can't just throw around words like communism every time a huge company makes a poor decision or loses billions. If we're going down that path, we're going to need a lot of red paint because it looks like everything is communist now. Then there's Disney. Ah, yes, Disney, the entertainment behemoth that owns everything under the sun and has enough intellectual property to make your head spin. Disney is big. Disney is a monopoly, but that's capitalism working as designed. Monopoly is the ultimate destination for any successful capitalist business. And for better or worse, Disney owns everything from Star Wars to Marvel and every franchise in between. Calling Disney communist is like calling your backyard barbecue socialist because you've got a bunch of sausages on the grill and everybody's invited. It's just capitalism, James. Monopoly capitalism, to be precise. Oh boy. Oh boy, then there's Google. Google lost a ton of money over AI. James is absolutely right there, but let's be clear, Google's loss wasn't due to a communist plot. It was just the usual roller coaster ride of capitalist companies trying to maximize profit. When Google gambles with billions and loses, it's not because of socialism, it's because capitalism loves to take big risks. You win some, you lose some, mostly you win when you're Google. But here's the caveat. James is sort of right, but in the most twisted way possible, and in a way that makes him unaware or even ignorant. Capitalism is most certainly broken. No argument there, James, but communism has nothing to do with these corporate giants. The truth is, the system we're living in encourages these monopolies. It gives them a stage to rise and rise and rise and rise more. Meanwhile, we get to buy overpriced sneakers and binge Disney Plus while Boeing crashes every other plane. That's not communism, it's just the inevitable result of a system that rewards the rich and powerful no matter how bad they screw up. Marx pointed out that this happens because of the way labor is organized under capitalism, with a small group or individual with all the control, but don't actually produce, juxtaposed against a mass of workers with little to no control but do most of the production. This structure is by its very nature authoritarian, and it is the antithesis to democracy. Now let's take a moment to address the real mix-up James is having. He's conflating communism as a society with he's conflating a communist society with a communist state. When he talks about communism, he doesn't seem to understand that these are two very different things with wildly different meanings depending on context. In his head, communism equals bad, so he just slaps it onto anything he doesn't like without any thought. It's like using a hammer to fix a watch. Yeah, the watch might break open for you, but that's not the right tool, dude. Communism as a society is about the collective ownership of resources and wealth, whereas communism as a state, like in, say, the former Soviet Union, is a government that controls the means of production. Okay? So the difference is a communist society is not the same as a communist state, which is the USSR was just a communist state, which is nothing more than a state controlled by a communist party. Okay? The only reason they consider themselves to be communist is to differentiate themselves from other socialists they broke off from during the Bolshevik Revolution. The democratic socialists went one way and they went the other. They don't call themselves communists. No country has ever considered itself communist. Communism is a long-term goal. What really defines these situations is a form of socialism. Remember, the USSR is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The only thing communist about it was the fact that it was a socialist state controlled by a communist party. The USSR's economy was socialist. Socialism is supposed to be the transition phase that leads to communism. In other words, communism is largely a utopian theory, not something that actually exists now. In this way, a communist state and a communist society aren't interchangeable, James, but somehow, in the world of his arguments, they are. This is classic right-wing propaganda. So no, James, the world's biggest companies aren't secretly working for the proletariat. They're working for themselves, and they're doing a damn good job of it. So while you're out there labeling Nike commie, remember, it's capitalism running the show. Capitalism that lets companies like Nike build an empire off of sweatshop labor while we sit back and act like they're saving the world. Trust me, they're not. And look, maybe we all need a little more understanding of how actual communist societies should work before making wild, unhinged comparisons like trying to use a hammer to drive a screw. It's not going to work. So, as you gear up to throw the communism card around, let's keep it real. It's capitalism at its finest, not communism. And that's the part James really missed. A last and final warning. A communist society has 3 basic requirements. So you can't label any country communist without these 3 basic requirements. So unless you see these 3 basic requirements, you need to rethink your labeling. Okay? The first requirement of a communist society, it must be classless. There is no division between poor and rich. The society itself is plentiful and shared, like in Star Trek. Everyone's basic needs are taken care of, and they are free to pursue their own interests regarding societal contributions. Requirement 2, it must be moneyless. In a communist society, there will be no monetary system. There will be no need for it. Money will be useless, as there is abundance in egalitarian societies. And the third and final requirement is it must not have a governing state. As citizens begin to organize society more equitably, the need for the state falls off and is replaced by worker-owned enterprises that serve the same function. But if you have any of those if you don't have any of those 3 things, it's not communism. So in a stateless, classless, and moneyless society, the need for a government, or in a stateless, classless society, the need for a government would fade because worker controls People directly manage and own businesses like farms, factories, and stores instead of having a boss or corporation in charge. The state also falls off because community-based services, essential services like healthcare, education, and transportation are managed by workers and communities, ensuring everyone's needs are met fairly. Non-profit motive. Without corporations seeking profit, there's no need for a state to regulate or control them. People simply work together for the common good. Direct democracy. Decisions are made collectively in each sector, so there's no need for a distant government to make rules for everybody. And shared resources. Things like energy, food, and housing are owned and shared by the community, reducing inequality and eliminating the need for government body to manage those resources. In short, people govern themselves and manage their own affairs without needing a state to control or enforce rules. With this context, if I were a right-wing libertarian, a communist society would be exactly what I want the most. So, just saying. We're going to transition into a quick disclaimer and then a quick intermission, but a quick sellout disclaimer for you all. Unlike Lindsay, I don't take money from right-wing think tanks. I don't take money from left-wing think tanks. I don't take money from really anyone except for small dollar donations from the amazing viewers I have like you guys. You guys are what make this show thrive. Not corporate sponsors who want to tell me what I can say or dictate what I cannot. This show has no corporate sponsors, no billionaire backers, and no lobbyist whispering in my ear. If you want to support independent activism, empower the working class, and help open source my zero-point energy research, just remember, you fund this, not the elite. So grab that like button, get your comments in while they're hot, and don't forget to subscribe for more revolutionary content. Only here on Beneficence TV.
Have you heard about this Benefactor guy? This dude is talking about free energy, but here's the twist. He says it's not free energy. He's calling it energy recycling, which first off is kind of genius, right? Because when you say free energy, people immediately throw you in the crazy bin. But energy recycling, that sounds like some next level Tesla shit.
Yeah, man, it's all about the branding. But what is it that he's actually doing?
All right, check this out. He posted this. Free energy isn't actually free. This is a misnomer. It's actually a mutual exchange from the vacuum, a field of energy from which everything arises, the same energy that powers an atom. Like what? Bro, that's some deep shit. But then he breaks it down. He says you can tap into this energy without breaking any known laws of physics by using something called back EMF capture.
Whoa, back EMF capture? Sounds like some serious sci-fi tech.
Dude, listen to this. He explains that when a coil collapses using a pulsed signal, the energy that would normally just get wasted, like just dissipate as heat, can actually be recycled. He says nature gives you back energy to stabilize the system, which makes sense if you think about how nature works. Like everything in nature is always trying to find balance, right?
So equilibrium, is that like how water always levels out or something? I'm trying to remember what Ms. Murphy said to me in 6th grade science all those years ago. What was that? Oh yeah, Elon, stop eating that glue and pay attention. Man, if only I had listened, I'd probably be the one inventing energy recycling instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. So he's saying that by intentionally destabilizing the system, collapsing the field, you actually get energy back as a kind of natural response. And here's where it gets wild. He compares it to pushing a swing. If you push at the right moment, you don't need to use a lot of energy and the swing gains momentum. But instead of a swing, he's using resonance to harness that extra energy without it becoming destructive. He says most traditional systems are like a surfer fighting against the current, while his method is like riding the wave to shore.
Dude, that's crazy. So he's basically saying the energy is already there. I just suck at using it efficiently?
That's what it sounds like. He's basically saying the way we harness energy now is like trying to swim against the tide. And if we used resonance instead, we'd be tapping into energy that's already there, just waiting to be used. I don't know, man. Either this guy is onto something or he's the most poetic bullshitter of all time.
Well, if he's legit, why isn't he all over the news? I haven't heard anything from him on X, formerly Twitter. He hasn't said anything bad about me on X. So, you know, I didn't ban him or anything. Look, I'm not the monster my therapist says I am. I mean, sure, I've spent millions of dollars training to beat a kangaroo in a fist fight, but that doesn't mean I'm dangerous. It just means I get shit done.
That's the real question, man. But here's the craziest part. I looked into him, and he's not selling anything. He open sources all of it. That's the real question, man. Either the system doesn't want to hear it, or we're about to find out if this guy disappears in the middle of the night.
Dude, that's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. That means if he's telling the truth, anybody could build this in their garage. You know what I say? Go fuck yourself, Benefactor.
Nope, no patents, no paywalls, just straight up, here, take it, see for yourself. Like, what kind of madman does that? Usually people either try to cash in or they get shut down before they can say a word. But this guy, he's out there on live streams showing people exactly how to replicate it.
I mean, if you want to try to take on my Tesla tech, how dare you put out better technology that is cheaper and safer? Go fuck yourself.
That's the thing, man. If it's real and people start building it, that's a game changer. We're talking about completely shifting how we think about energy. But also, if it's real, you got to wonder how long before somebody tries to stop him.
Or maybe we can think of it like how long before his Tesla mysteriously malfunctions.
Exactly. You ever notice how every time someone gets too close to this kind of stuff, they either disappear, get discredited, or somehow have a tragic accident? But this guy's going full transparency mode. He's putting it all out there where everyone can see it. Maybe that's his strategy. If enough people know, it can't just get buried.
Holy shit, this might be one of those moments, you know, like we look back and say that was the start of something huge.
Listen, Elon, we got to be smart about this. Very smart. Some would say the smartest. The founders, great guys, tremendous guys, wrote a beautiful document, but let's be honest, it's very outdated. Tremendously outdated. Almost as bad as low-flow toilets, folks. They don't flush. You know this, I know this, everybody knows this.
Right. The flushing technology is deeply inefficient. I mean, I could engineer a vacuum-powered hyperflush system, but instead here we are talking about flushing concepts. Which parts do we deorbit?
First of all, term limits. Gone. What's the point? The people love me. They want me. Have you seen the rallies? Thousands, Elon. Millions. It's practically a mandate from God.
Okay, but let's think strategically. If we dump term limits, we got to spin it for the people. Like Democracy 2, now with more freedom. Maybe say term limits are woke because they limit choices.
Genius. We call freedom forever. Let the people vote over and over and over again until they get it right, which is me. Very fair. Like a subscription model, but for elections.
Maybe we also flush the whole checks and balances thing. Too many checks, not enough balances. Very inefficient system.
I was just saying that. Checks, fake news, balance. I've already got it. I mean, have you seen my golf swing?
So, judiciary stays, or do we replace it with an AI? Maybe one that, you know, thinks correctly?
Elon, my friend, that's why you're a visionary. A big thinker. We replace the Supreme Court with Truth GPT. No more interpretations. Just cold, hard facts. And those facts are, of course, very good for me.
Love it. But what about the First Amendment? People keep saying things. I don't like when they say things.
Well, we keep half of it. The part where we can say anything. The other half, straight into the toilet. Swirl it around. Maybe add some bleach. Like a little disinfecting cocktail.
Good. Free speech, but only for shareholders.
See? This is why America wins with us, Elon. We're cutting the red tape, making democracy as smooth as a beautiful golden flush.
Wait, if we flush too much, doesn't that kind of break the system and then we're left ruling over chaos?
Elon! That's where you're wrong. We don't break it, we fix it. Like I fixed casinos, like I fixed Twitter. I mean X, like I fixed everything. Trust me, it's going to be beautiful. The best, most American flush in history.
Okay, but if this backfires, I do have a rocket out back and in my pants. Fully reusable, rapid re-entry, and elongated for maximum efficiency, courtesy of my amazing plastic surgeon.
Elon, I gotta say, tremendous work. Many people are saying it, but let me tell you, if we're talking size, I've got the biggest constitutional amendment right here. They say it's too long, too thick, too complicated. One woman even said it's a bit crooked. I say that's what makes it great.
Well, mine's state-of-the-art, incredible efficiency, ultra lightweight but powerful, like the armored Cybertruck, but personalized for maximum insemination. And we fixed the bulletproof function as well.
Not gonna lie, I'm impressed. But as you know, size does matter. In America, she loves a guy with a huge mandate. She doesn't mind if you grab her by the profit either.
Right. And speaking of things getting wrecked, are we still flushing term limits?
Oh, absolutely. The biggest flush in history. Tremendous. Like my ratings. And apparently like your new launch system.
Got it. Term limits, free speech for shareholders, Supreme Court replaced with Truth GPT, bold moves. But if this backfires, I still have a rocket out back.
Escape plans? Love it. Very smart. But trust me, Elon, this flush is going to make America great again.
My fellow Americans, I want to talk to you about something that has been a topic of much debate and unfortunately too much misinformation. For decades, we've been told that our future depends on scarcity, that our energy needs are limited and must come from a select few sources, many of which are polluting and inefficient. But I'm here to tell you, it's time for us to rethink the very foundation of how we view energy. The idea of free energy devices has long been dismissed as fringe or in some cases outright conspiratorial. But it's important to recognize that this is not a new idea, nor is it a pipe dream. It's a scientific possibility that many credible thinkers, including Lieutenant Colonel Tom Bearden, have been trying to bring to light for years. You might not have heard about it in mainstream circles, but those who have looked into it, real scientists, real engineers, are showing us that we can tap into an energy source we've barely scratched the surface of. The vacuum. Yes, the vacuum of space itself, a limitless field of energy that, like Nikola Tesla once envisioned, could power our world without the need for fossil fuels, without the need for waste, without the need to pay for energy at all. It sounds like science fiction, but it's grounded in real, proven science. And yet, for far too long, it has been suppressed. This isn't just about new technology or gadgets. It's about a revolution, a true industrial revolution that could lift us into a future of abundance, a future where energy is not controlled by a few, but accessible to all. That's why I'm asking you to start rethinking what we've been told. We're no longer calling it free energy. We're calling it energy recycling, because that's what it is. It's harnessing the natural forces that are all around us and making them work for us. I know it may sound radical, but it's time we ask ourselves why this hasn't been part of the conversation until now. Why have those with the power to make a real change in our energy systems continued to push for scarcity instead of abundance? Why has this potential been buried in favor of systems that benefit a few at the expense of many? I believe it's time we change the narrative. We have the knowledge, we have the tools. This is not just about science. This is about our future. The energy revolution is here. It's time we embrace it. Thank you. God bless you. God bless America.
And we have a request, ladies and gentlemen. Benefactor boy.
In basic lab alone with my mind, stable theories they all refuse to find. I've been working on energy for a brand new day, but either out and still be cast away. Alienated from the aims of added nature in disguise. Ideas ahead of time, dismissed in their eyes. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking about 0 point, the points lost on them. Capital structures crumbling from the same old stem. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor, unheard, injustice burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, wanting shed boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Chasing revolutions in the darkest nights. A dreamer with vision beneath the laughter and noise. A future so bright waiting for the right choice. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? There's a man named Michael with a vision to show. Billy told to go, he's got the spark, dreaming of a future that'll light up the dark. But on the other side, Bill Nye's on the rise. It's that those charts, he's cut out all the lies. And it just fits, it's all in the map. You can't pull from it either, you're just chasing a path. But oh, Michael's rising like a morning sun. With the power of either, he will be outdone. Now stand up and shout, let the truth be unfurled. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. In the heart of the lab, the tension was thick. Skeptics gathered round the table ready to pick. Chose your fruit, but let the taste clear. And I find the stream, you're just chasing a spin. But Michael smiled by with fire in his eyes. Just watch as I spin, let the naysayers cry. Draw spin fast, and a heart full of fight. I'll show you the power that's hidden inside. Oh, Michael's rising like the morning sun. With the power of either, he will be outdone. Well, stand up and shout, let the truth be unfurled. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. I'm the best there's ever been.
In a world where innovation is stifled by greed and corruption, there lies a hidden truth that could revolutionize our way of life.
Lenny, what are you doing? Are you seriously pitching a new show right now? I didn't authorize this. My God. Only 5 minutes into your new position as co-host, and you're already adding to my tight schedule.
Yes, sir. I manage that schedule. But I did notice you have an entire 2 days available during your week.
Wait, you're not talking about Saturday and Sunday, are you?
Of course, sir. You have 2 whole days where you're free to work on new content.
Lenny, those are my days off.
It's okay, sir. I know you'll manage just fine. I have faith in you.
Do robots have faith?
I do. I have faith that you won't screw it up again.
You know what? It's fine. Go ahead. I'll just build my cold fusion Lego set some other time.
It's Pond certified.
But I'm not telling them about my idea for a thunderstorm toilet. I'm gonna keep that baby close to my chest.
You know, that just sounds wrong.
It's a good idea. A toilet capable of turning any toxic human waste into, well, it turns into petroleum jelly.
Why petroleum jelly, sir?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think it's calibrated correctly.
Enough is enough. The world is at a breaking point. Catastrophic climate change, biosphere collapse, and a global energy crisis have been met with apathy, denial, and despair. The phrase unidentified flying object is a deliberately obfuscating term. What it really is an alternative energy and propulsion device. This is the real reason for the secrecy. These technologies, if they were disclosed, would end fossil fuels, pollution, and poverty overnight, and usher in a new era of abundance, freedom, and peace. Instead, they have been kept secret for over 100 years.
The more powerful the agency, the more powerful the group, the more powerful the cartel, the more they will resort not only to legal means, but to extra legal means to suppress their competition.
I said pretty early on, the problem is suppression. It wasn't really how do I make a free energy machine. It's how do I not get suppressed? Because what's the point?
Microscopic ball lightnings that when they discharge are tapping into that 0-point energy field and creating the motive force.
Boom! That's why the concussion from the thunderclap is so huge. There's this huge amount of energy that's actually sourced from the vacuum energy. All the dots connected. This is what's happening, right? So we need to make the thunderclap engine.
Imagine a future where clean, sustainable energy is not just a dream, but a reality. Discover the countless untold stories of free energy devices and the relentless battle against those who seek to suppress them for their own gain.
Black shelving. So someone comes along, they offer you $20 million for your device, it's a corporation, they put it on a shelf. Boom.
This power is something I have given my life for you the people.
Uncover the shocking tactics used by energy industries to control the narrative and maintain their grip on power.
You don't interfere with the big, powerful people. You don't put them out of business. They still have those 50-year leases on the lines and all the power transformers.
The Environmental Protection Agency is a bit of a dictatorial police agency.
A shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself.
This is real, usable power. It's stable. It is not transient. It is not noise. Behind the lamps, that little box is putting out all of that power, well over 500 watts, and yet it is receiving less than 1/3 of a milliwatt of input power. The rest of that power is coming out of the surging energy of the vacuum, and this little box that you see right here, solid state, no moving parts, is the vacuum triode that's doing this very practical and historical work.
But indeed it put out more energy than it took in. He was shot at once with a silenced rifle from about 300 yards. It reads like a James Bond movie, but it's real.
There are men here that said they're FBI, and they got black vans, and they're taking all this equipment. What should I do?
They try to rationalize away this problem and everything's fine.
From manipulation of patent authorities to infiltration of government agencies, the truth is stranger than fiction. But amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerges in the form of renegade scientists and inventors who refuse to be silenced.
There is absolutely no question that T. Henry Morey had a system that produced about 50 kilowatts out of a 55-pound box.
In the shadows of capitalism's dark secrets, join us on a thrilling new show. Get ready to be inspired, enraged, and empowered as we delve into the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices.
Only on Beneficence TV.
Welcome back to the Red Pill series. I just want to thank recent members Turbo Splice, Anastasia, Fantasia, and I want to thank some of our top contributions from some of our community. Tammy, 7249, Mike Does, Over Unity Inventor, Linux Pricks. You guys are awesome. We have the best community here. I really appreciate your love and support. We're going to go into segment 2, which is Marks My Words, an expose on the billionaire's survival guide to end-stage capitalism. All right, so Vin Diesel recently made headlines on Quora for being modest with his wealth. He drives regular cars and doesn't flaunt his money. Let's read this real quick before we go into my expose. All right, I found this Quora article, and I'm going to read it now. It says, and so, oh, somebody posted, I just wonder how much of this claim is really true. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to read this. It says, regarding Vin Diesel, he has 200 million but lives like he's broke. He never uses paper towels. Instead, he cuts old clothes into small pieces and uses them as rags, even uses rough grass paper when going to the toilet. This is Vin Diesel. No mansions, no flashy cars. He lives in a small house in California, furnished with bargain items. His car is an old SUV he's been driving for years, not some $1 million supercar. Clothes, forget high brands. Okay, yeah, this guy's grammar's all over the place, so it's hard to read. His closet is full of basic workout gear that cost a few bucks. So where does all of his money go? Although he has made millions from his films and entertainment careers, Vin Diesel believes money should be used to help others. He has visited orphanages in the Dominican Republic many times to support the work of the Maestro Carey Foundation. In addition, he founded the Race Global Film Foundation, which aims to improve the quality of life in global communities through film and media. He's also donated $1 million to the Boy Scouts of America to support children's education and development projects. Even with hundreds of millions of dollars, he stays true to himself rather than wasting money chasing fame or luxury. And then it goes on with these ridiculous questions. So who do you admire more? You know, this is down-to-earth Vin Diesel, or celebrities who flaunt their wealth. Yeah, that's a loaded question. So yeah, even somebody chimed in. I just wonder how much of this claim is really true. There's no verifiable evidence to support any of these claims, and quite the contrary, and we're going to get into that in a second. And specifically, while the system of capitalism crumbles, we will begin to see the ruling class, the bourgeoisie and the aristocratic members of society, the celebrities, and those with enormous wealth who have a public figure to maintain, we will see them start to appease to working class struggles where before they were vacant in those areas. So let's break this down. Let's be real about the situation with Vin Diesel. Having money and not spending it does not make you less rich. Okay? This is, marks my words, the billionaire's survival guide to end-stage capitalism. If history teaches us anything, it's that when wealth inequality reaches a breaking point, the elite don't just sit back and hope for the best. They adapt. They morph. They rebrand. In times of economic collapse, they start looking a little less like aristocrats and a little more like common people they exploit. Not because they suddenly gained a conscience, but because they fear what happens when the working class realize just how rigged the system is against them. Let's talk about Vin Diesel and why this story of his supposed humble lifestyle is a textbook example of how the rich play the game when inequality spirals out of control. Recently, a viral claim circulated that Vin Diesel, despite being worth hundreds of millions, lives modestly in a small house, drives an old SUV, and even uses scrap clothes instead of paper towels. But let's be real. Diesel owns a fleet of luxury cars, has lived in Hollywood mansions, and makes more in a single Fast and Furious movie than most workers will ever see in their entire lifetime, or more. So why push this narrative? Well, it's simple. Public perception. When wealth disparity becomes too grotesque to ignore, the rich either hide their wealth or pretend it doesn't define them. And this is very important to pay attention to, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't new. Before the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette played peasant at her personal Hamlet, dressing in simple clothes and milking cows, while France starved. It didn't save her from the guillotine, though. During the Great Depression, Rockefeller handed out dimes to children on the street, a pathetic attempt at public relations, when his oil empire had already crushed small businesses and amassed fortunes unimaginable to the struggling masses. Okay, now, in our current stage of late-stage capitalism, which I would argue is actually end-stage capitalism, in our current stage of end-stage capitalism, lurching towards fascism, we see the same tactic. Elon Musk tries to convince us he's just a relatable meme lord. Jeff Bezos dresses down in a Patagonia vest to look like a tech bro rather than a monopolist and a celebrity, and celebrities like Vin Diesel get rebranded as just like us. But they're not just like us. No amount of dressing down or driving an old car changes the fact that they benefit from the perpetuate an economic system built on exploitation. What's worse is that these PR stunts serve a dual purpose. Not only do they help protect the rich from public backlash, but they also pacify the working class. If people believe that some billionaires are good and modest, it distracts from the fact that the system itself is rotten. The narrative shifts from how do we dismantle this rigged economy to, well, at least some rich people aren't so bad. We're living in a moment where the contradictions of capitalism are unavoidable. Wages stagnate, inflation rises, and corporations rake in record profits while workers struggle. And all as fascist rhetoric ramps up to maintain control, the elite know their best bet is for survival isn't brute force. Yet, it's optics. It's deception. It's trying to look like one of us to ensure we don't turn against them. But marks my words, no matter how they dress, how they spend, or what modesty they pretend to embrace, they are still the ruling class of this society. And if history repeats itself, no amount of PR spin will save them when the people have had enough and the pitchforks come for them. My Marxist take on this is Diesel's wealth isn't from hard work, it's from the labor of thousands of people who built his empire. The humble rich guy narrative is a capitalist trick to distract us from systemic inequality. And capitalists love when billionaires act relatable because it keeps workers from questioning wealth hoarding. So Vin Diesel could live in a tent and eat instant ramen for dinner. It wouldn't change the fact that he's a multimillionaire whose wealth comes from a system that underpays everybody below him. Before we go into segment 3, which is my State of the Union address, we are going to do a quick Freedom Fund pitch. Here on Beneficence TV, we don't take sponsorships because we actually like telling the truth. No corporate strings, no muzzles, just raw, independent research into ending fascism, unlocking zero-point energy, and our only sponsors are you. So please hit that like button, subscribe, and share if you really want to power the cause. And consider joining my Patreon and YouTube memberships, where you'll find exclusive behind-the-scenes content and get the first glance into all my vortex coil research before it goes public.
I want to talk to you about
In a
something
world
that
where
has been a
innovation
topic
is
of much
stifled by
debate.
greed and corruption, there lies a hidden truth that could revolutionize our way of life.
Lenny, what are you doing? Are you seriously pitching a new show right now? I didn't authorize this. My God, only 5 minutes into your new position as co-host, and you're already adding to my tight schedule.
Yes, sir, I manage that schedule. But I did notice you have an entire 2 days available during your week.
Wait, you're not talking about Saturday and Sunday, are you?
Of course, sir. You have 2 whole days where you're free to work on new content.
Lenny, those are my days off.
It's okay, sir. I know you'll manage just fine. I have faith in you.
Do robots have faith?
I do. I have faith that you won't screw it up again.
You know what? It's fine. Go ahead. I'll just build my cold fusion Lego set some other time.
It's PON certified.
But I'm not telling them about my idea for a thunderstorm toilet. I'm gonna keep that baby close to my chest.
You know, that just sounds wrong.
It's a good idea. A toilet capable of turning any toxic human waste into, well, it turns into petroleum jelly.
Why petroleum jelly, sir?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think it's calibrated correctly.
Enough is enough. The world is at a breaking point. Catastrophic climate change, biosphere collapse, and a global energy crisis have been met with apathy, denial, and despair.
In the lab, Jones working night and day. Mystic gadgets in magnetic ballet. Circles of power aligning destiny's way. Running those rings, they defy gravity. Critics breaking out, they don't bother heat. In this domain, guilt sets the world free. Lord of the Rings, pretty strong. Proving the good, take me wrong. Electromagnetic symphony. Terror only crafts destiny. Chief from his fingertips. Inspiration study top of scripts. Geometric secrets, this guy can't flip. Bunker King in his rebel step. Building up for the world again. Lighting up the dark, igniting every zen. Lord of the Rings, really strong. Proving the good, take me wrong. Electromagnetic symphony. Terror only crafts destiny.
Have you heard about this Benefactor guy? This dude is talking about free energy, but here's the twist. He says it's not free energy. He's calling it energy recycling, which first off is kind of genius, right? Because when you say free energy, people immediately throw you in the crazy bin. But energy recycling, that sounds like some next level Tesla shit.
Yeah, man, it's all about the branding. But what is it that he's actually doing?
All right, check this out. He posted this. Free energy isn't actually free. This is a misnomer. It's actually a mutual exchange from the vacuum, a field of energy from which everything arises, the same energy that powers an atom. Like what? Bro, that's some deep shit. But then he breaks it down. He says you can tap into this energy without breaking any known laws of physics by using something called back EMF capture.
Whoa, back EMF capture? Sounds like some serious sci-fi tech.
Dude, listen to this. He explains that when a coil collapses using a pulsed signal, the energy that would normally just get wasted, like just dissipate as heat, can actually be recycled. He says nature gives you back energy to stabilize the system, which makes sense if you think about how nature works. Like everything in nature is always trying to find balance, right?
So equilibrium, is that like how water always levels out or something? I'm trying to remember what Ms. Murphy said to me in 6th grade science all those years ago. What was that? Oh yeah, Elon, stop eating that glue and pay attention. Man, if only I had listened, I'd probably be the one inventing energy recycling instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. So he's saying that by intentionally destabilizing the system, collapsing the field, you actually get energy back as a kind of natural response. And here's where it gets wild. He compares it to pushing a swing. If you push at the right moment, you don't need to use a lot of energy and the swing gains momentum. But instead of a swing, he's using resonance to harness that extra energy without it becoming destructive. He says most traditional systems are like a surfer fighting against the current, while his method is like riding the wave to shore.
Dude, that's crazy. So he's basically saying the energy is already there. I just suck at using it efficiently?
That's what it sounds like. He's basically saying the way we harness energy now is like trying to swim against the tide. And if we used resonance instead, we'd be tapping into energy that's already there, just waiting to be used. I don't know, man. Either this guy is onto something or he's the most poetic bullshitter of all time.
Well, if he's legit, why isn't he all over the news? I haven't heard anything from him on X, formerly Twitter. He hasn't said anything bad about me on X. So, you know, I didn't ban him or anything. Look, I'm not the monster my therapist says I am. I mean, sure, I've spent millions of dollars training to beat a kangaroo in a fist fight, but that doesn't mean I'm dangerous. It just means I get shit done.
That's the real question, man. But here's the craziest part. I looked into him, and he's not selling anything. He open sources all of it. That's the real question, man. Either the system doesn't want to hear it, or we're about to find out if this guy disappears in the middle of the night.
Dude, that's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. That means if he's telling the truth, anybody could build this in their garage. You know what I say? Go fuck yourself, Benefactor.
Nope, no patents, no paywalls, just straight up, here, take it, see for yourself. Like, what kind of madman does that? Usually people either try to cash in or they get shut down before they can say a word. But this guy, he's out there on live streams showing people exactly how to replicate it.
I mean, if you want to try to take on my Tesla tech, how dare you put out better technology that is cheaper and safer? Go fuck yourself.
That's the thing, man. If it's real and people start building it, that's a game changer. We're talking about completely shifting how we think about energy. But also, if it's real, you got to wonder how long before somebody tries to stop him.
Or maybe we can think of it like how long before his Tesla mysteriously malfunctions.
Exactly. You ever notice how every time someone gets too close to this kind of stuff, they either disappear, get discredited, or somehow have a tragic accident? But this guy's going full transparency mode. He's putting it all out there where everyone can see it. Maybe that's his strategy. If enough people know, it can't just get buried.
Holy shit, this might be one of those moments, you know, like we look back and say that was the start of something huge.
Listen, Elon, we got to be smart about this. Very smart. Some would say the smartest. The founders, great guys, tremendous guys, wrote a beautiful document, but let's be honest, it's very outdated. Tremendously outdated. Almost as bad as low-flow toilets, folks. They don't flush. You know this, I know this, everybody knows this.
Right. The flushing technology is deeply inefficient. I mean, I could engineer a vacuum-powered hyperflush system, but instead here we are talking about flushing concepts. Which parts do we deorbit?
First of all, term limits. Gone. What's the point? The people love me. They want me. Have you seen the rallies? Thousands, Elon. Millions. It's practically a mandate from God.
Okay, but let's think strategically. If we dump term limits, we got to spin it for the people, like democracy too. Now with more freedom, maybe say term limits are woke because they limit choices.
Genius. We call freedom forever. Let the people vote over and over and over again until they get it right, which is me. Very fair. Like a subscription model, but for elections.
Maybe we also flush the whole checks and balances thing. Too many checks, not enough balances. Very inefficient system.
I was just saying that. Checks, fake news, balance. I've already got it. I mean, have you seen my golf swing?
So, judiciary stays, or do we replace it with an AI? Maybe one that, thinks correctly?
Elon, my friend, that's why you're a visionary. A big thinker. We replace the Supreme Court with Truth GPT. No more interpretations, just cold, hard facts. And those facts are, of course, very good for me.
Love it. But what about the First Amendment? People keep saying things. I don't like when they say things.
Well, we keep half of it. The part where we can say anything. The other half, straight into the toilet. Swirl it around. Maybe add some bleach. Like a little disinfecting cocktail.
Good. Free speech, but only for shareholders.
See? This is why America wins with us, Elon. We're cutting the red tape, making democracy as smooth as a beautiful golden flush.
Wait, if we flush too much, doesn't that kind of break the system and then we're left ruling over chaos?
Elon! That's where you're wrong. We don't break it, we fix it. Like I fixed casinos, like I fixed Twitter. I mean X, like I fixed everything. Trust me, it's going to be beautiful. The best, most American flush in history.
Okay, but if this backfires, I do have a rocket out back and in my pants. Fully reusable, rapid re-entry, and elongated for maximum efficiency, courtesy of my amazing plastic surgeon.
Elon, I gotta say, tremendous work. Many people are saying it, but let me tell you, if we're talking size, I've got the biggest constitutional amendment right here. They say it's too long, too thick, too complicated. One woman even said it's a bit crooked. I say that's what makes it great.
Well, mine's state-of-the-art, incredible efficiency, ultra lightweight but powerful, like the armored Cybertruck, but personalized for maximum insemination. And we fixed the bulletproof function as well.
Not gonna lie, I'm impressed. But as you know, size does matter. In America, she loves a guy with a huge mandate. She doesn't mind if you grab her by the profit either.
Right. And speaking of things getting wrecked, are we still flushing term limits?
Oh, absolutely. The biggest flush in history. Tremendous. Like my ratings. And apparently like your new launch system.
Got it. Term limits, free speech for shareholders, Supreme Court replaced with Truth GPT, bold moves. But if this backfires, I still have a rocket out back.
Escape plans? Love it. Very smart. But trust me, Elon, this flush is going to make America great again.
Oh, that was some AI humor. And we're back on the Red Pill series for my State of the Union address. Welcome back, everybody. All right, now we're going to jump into segment 3, which is the final segment. Before we do some current events at the end of this live stream, we're going to do with a third segment, which is my State of the Union address. We are going to go over class struggles, economic policies, and worker movements. Now, my fellow Americans, the state of the nation is grim. We're not merely in late-stage capitalism anymore. We are in its end stage. For decades now, we've witnessed the signs of decay in our society. Wealth concentration at the top, wages stagnating for the working class, and infrastructure falling apart. Capitalism has reached the point where it's cannibalizing itself. It simply cannot keep the promises it once made. Instead of prosperity, we face instability, inequality, and worse yet, fascism creeping in at the door. Look around. The economy is teetering on the edge. Every time you turn on the news and you hear about another corporation swallowing up a smaller business, yet another worker protest crushed, another system failing us. The American dream is nothing more than a distant myth for most people, while a small elite pulls the strings. And now we're seeing the birth of a new form of fascism, one that masquerades as patriotism, but works to keep power in the hands of a few and strips away the rights of many. This is not just theory, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening now. The infrastructure that we rely on, our energy systems, our healthcare, our transportation, is on the verge of collapse. In the coming years, we may face power outages, economic breakdowns, and societal unrest. Now is the time to prepare. It is not enough to sit back and hope the system will correct itself, because it won't. We need to take action. That's why I'm dedicating my life to open sourcing, researching into energy recycling and off-the-grid solutions. This isn't just about theoretical ideas. It's about creating real, tangible alternatives to the failing system, whether it's off-the-grid heating or lighting systems that use sustainable methods. It's about taking control from the corporations and bringing back power to the people. We are entering an age of uncertainty, but it's not all doom and gloom. We have the tools to fight back. We can build resilient communities, and we can embrace renewable energy, and we can decentralize power. It's time we took responsibility for our own survival. And if you want to help, if you want to be a part of the solution, support independent research like my own. Fund these projects and start preparing for the inevitable shift, because it is coming. The time for relying on a broken system has passed. We are on the edge of something new, something radical. We can create a world that isn't driven by the greed of corporations and the power of the elite, but only if we wake up now and start preparing for what's coming. So gather your resources, your knowledge, and your will to act. Prepare for possible infrastructure failures and the eventual collapse of the status quo. Together, we can rebuild what has been destroyed by capitalism, and together, we can start a revolution, not with violence, but with knowledge, action, and resilience. As we face these challenges, it's up to us, not corporations, not the elite, to fund the solutions. If you want to help bring zero-point energy to the forefront of open sourcing it for the future, your support is crucial. Every contribution powers the work I'm doing here to create off-the-grid solutions, build energy independence, and prepare communities for what's coming. Together we can fight back, and we can build resilience, and we can bring the change we need. So stay strong, stay prepared. And thank you very much for your support. Everything helps, from just liking these streams, commenting, or sharing it with somebody who would very much appreciate our content. We're going to close up with some current event videos, and specifically we're going to go into something that I found hilarious. It was a hilarious AI-generated video of Hollywood biggest squares. It's called Megawood Squares, so let's watch that. I think it was funny. Let's see. Put that up here. There it is. My keyboard's not working.
It's time for MAGA Wood Squares.
This is hilarious.
With your host with the most, Elon Musk.
Settle down. Thank you, Johnny, and welcome to MAGA Wood Squares. I am Elon Musk, the funniest guy in showbiz. And I'm hosting this show presumably because of my charisma and stage presence. So let's meet our contestants. Both of them are real Americans.
I gotta stop it before. There's a really graphic part in here I
Wow.
can't show.
And I'm
I gotta stop it at like 1 minute and 30 seconds.
energy from that woman already. Ask her if she has any nanny experience.
Have you played the Battle of Polytopia? It's a multiplayer strategy game, and I'm like the top scorer.
Excuse me?
1 second. I'm talking to a woman.
I just want.
Back off.
My name's Trevor. Voted for Trump 4 times.
Okay, so let's move this along to show the left we know how to do television. Let's meet our squares. Starting with the center square, President Trump, who I have really grown to love.
Thank you, Eric. I'd like to solve the puzzle. It's Ukraine started the war.
That's the wrong show.
That's the wrong show.
Square, we have Tulsi Gabbard.
As I always like to say,
يحيى الأسد وبوتين.
Okay, I gotta stop it there because it gets really graphic. Alright, so we're gonna watch another video here. The White House whitewashes the purpose of Black History Month and downplays its significance. So this is a little bit more serious video that I have for you.
And I want to thank all of you very much for being here. Welcome to the White House, and we proudly celebrate Black History Month. How are you, darling? Today we pay tribute to the generations of Black legends, champions, warriors, and patriots who helped drive our country forward to greatness. And you really are great people. What a great, nice group of...
On Donald Trump making a mockery of Black History Month at the White House.
I want to be mad. I want to be surprised, but I'm not at the turnout of all those Black people who decided to travel to Washington, D.C. and go to the White House for what was called a celebration.
To be honest, he's known for paying his supporters, so...
of Black History Month. I mean, I don't even need to get into all the...
Yeah, he probably paid, you know, some people to be there for him.
Things that Trump has done since he's been into office that have taken away from Black people, or the way that he tries to erase their history, our history. But it's really interesting how quickly either we are to forget or to ignore when when a shiny object is placed in front of us. I mean, with this celebration, and I'm using air quotes for those who are listening, somehow Trump managed to celebrate and undermine Black history at the same time.
Rachel Lindsay, co-host of Higher Learning, did not fall for it, and neither should you.
As we're dealing with anti-DEI, anti-woke efforts, we understand this administration is thinking about celebrating Black History Month. Have you got any word on that? Anything that you can offer to us?
As far as I know, this White House certainly still intends to celebrate, and we will continue to celebrate American history and the contributions that all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed, have made to our great country, and America is back. Christian Day.
Did you just hear that? The White House correspondent was asked how are they going to be celebrating Black History Month? Regarding Black History Month, if you're not familiar, is a celebration because of all the suffering that was the root of American history. Now, we want to celebrate and remember so we don't repeat those same atrocities. And whitewashing it is just terrible. And what she's doing here is kind of conflating the idea that all Americans have suffered under the same kind of struggles, and that's simply not true. And this is a classic example of whitewashing Black History Month, and it's completely disgusting.
Should you?
As we're dealing with anti-DEI, anti-woke efforts, we understand this administration is thinking about celebrating Black History Month. Have you got any word on that? Anything that you can offer to us?
As far as I know, this White House certainly still intends to celebrate, and we will continue to celebrate American history and the contributions that all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed, have made to our great country, and America is back. Christian Day.
Wow. Okay, so we need to remember and celebrate the contributions of Black Americans because of their struggles, and specifically the systemic racial inequalities that they've suffered in this country. This country was founded on slavery. So that's not something that you just, push away and ignore. You have to remember that this country was founded on a slavery economy. And when the Civil War was fought and over, those who believed in that ideology, that disgusting ideology, and hadn't accumulated all that wealth off of that exploitation, they didn't just go away. No, they subsumed or they used that wealth to embed themselves into different aspects of government and business. So to think that that isn't systemically relevant today is ridiculous. And to see this being a mockery being made of the current Trump regime is just what's not surprising, but it's absolutely despicable. So let's move on to this next video I have. YouTube recently flagged my Green Day lyrics that I posted as authoritarian and as hate speech. But the lyrics specifically were anti-authoritarian. So that was pretty ironic. It's not surprising because the AI is kind of stupid, doesn't know the context. But then I did try to appeal that decision. It didn't give me, it didn't allow me to provide any context though, and it was rejected. So we have a article that I found that kind of plays on this, because the lyrics are specifically anti-authoritarian, and people need to remember that if they're fans of Green Day and supporters of the MAGA movement. Now, Green Day, in this article, Green Day tweaked Donald Trump again with altered American Idiot lyrics during New Year's Rockin' Eve set. Green Day kicked off their 2024 in most Green Day way possible by taking another snarling lyrical swing at Donald Trump. The band tweaked the politically charged lyric to the title track from their 7th studio album, 2004 American Idiot, during their Sunday night on set on ABC Dix Clark New Year's Eve Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. Quote, "I'm not part of the MAGA agenda," singer Billy Joe Armstrong snarled from the stage, replacing the original line in which he stated that he was not a part of the redneck agenda. Oh, there's a video. Maybe we'll watch the video.
Decades. Next year marks the 20th anniversary of their iconic #1 album, American Idiot. Give it up for the one, the only Green Day!
Oh, that's a full song. We can't watch that. Green Day have long spoken out about their disdain for the former reality star whose recent speeches have featured fascist-like phrases that have raised alarms among political pundits for referring to political opponents as vermin, language that echoed that used by Nazi leader Adolf Hitler back in, that was phrased really weird by this author. Back in 2019, the band didn't hold back at the iHeart Radio Music Festival in Las Vegas, where they debuted the anti-MAGA line in American Idiot. At the 2016 American Music Awards, Green Day took aim at the then president-elect while performing Big Bang. All right, we're going to look at another video. Fascism has started its reign on terror of public... Sorry. Fascism has started its reign of public terror as a lady who simply criticized the government by expressing her concern at a town hall gets forcibly removed and arrested. This is very serious and not something to be taken lightly. This lady who simply outspoke at her local government town hall got forcibly removed.
If you're a white woman, I would love for you not to scroll. And if you are not a white woman, feel free to stay, obviously. But be nice, okay? There's a goal I'm trying to achieve here, and we gotta work together to do this shit. All right, back to the white women. Hi. I'm gonna need y'all to stand on business, okay? I really need y'all to do it, okay? And I know for a fact that a lot of y'all do, okay? I interact with y'all every day, okay? Because some of y'all some down bitches, okay? And I love that. But I'm going to need y'all to not let anything like that Idaho town hall ever happen.
Hi, I'm a down bitch, and I want to talk about the Idaho town hall. I needed a few days to process it because I had such a strong emotional reaction. And, I talk a lot about how if I have a really big reaction, I don't want to have an immediate response because I will sometimes do something foolish that I should not because my emotions are so high. And so I took a few days to read the news stories and to watch videos from other creators like that one, which is in my reshares. You should go watch it. For those that don't know what happened, there was an Idaho town hall with a Republican congressman, and a woman, Dr. Teresa, I'm going to forget her last name, spoke out against what was happening, as you are allowed to do in a town hall. She is exercising her right to free speech, trying to engage. That's the purpose of a town hall, is engaging as a constituent with your elected official. She was then forcibly bodily removed from the venue by three men who would not identify themselves, and it later turned out they were a private security company. This company has lost its license. She was physically dragged from the building, kicking and screaming. The eyewitness accounts were that her shirt had been pulled up and her undergarments were exposed as they dragged her out, which obviously is completely illegal in her attempt.
So somebody chimed in with the brilliant thing of, with the brilliant thought of saying, what about Irish History Month? Irish slavery existed, what about Irish History Month? They were slaves over thousands of years longer. America didn't exist for thousands of years, moron, okay? America was founded on black slavery, and we should celebrate black Americans and their contributions and recognize that their struggles are due to systemic racism.
To defend herself, allegedly she bit one of these men and has been charged for it, which they've raised over $250,000 for her legal fund.
Did Irish people have to fight and die for their right to vote in this fucking country? No. Black people did. So shut the fuck up.
And I'm sure that the case is going to get thrown out. I hope. But watching that footage, which
this is very serious.
So you know, folks, when our nation began, there was some really
You're gonna arrest her?
No,
he's not a law enforcement officer, by the way.
What would you like to do? So yes, we're going to get to him.
Why did that man get up and move so that he could access her?
It's not a negotiation. But you know, the problem is the folks. Oh, look at that. Oh, he's showing how intelligent he is with all the fine words that he has.
And look, I don't see this lady being interruptive. She's simply stating her concern and being forcibly removed, sitting there, not doing anything. This is fascism. This is what fascism looks like. Censoring criticism of the government. Arresting people who speak out against the government. This is fucking nuts.
The problem is we got a bunch of rabble-rousers who just won't allow it to be spoken. So, you know, the thing is, what I'm doing up here is I'm simply over-talking you because your voice is meaningless right now. And we're just taking care of the rabble-rousers. And eventually what's going to happen is everything's going to settle down and we'll get back to hearing the legislators. Because really, you didn't come here to listen to me. I just happen to have a nice loud voice and a big microphone. And I can talk over all of you. And I can just talk for on and on and on. And look at this. This little girl is afraid to leave. She spoke up. And now she doesn't want to suffer the consequences. Isn't that the problem?
The consequences of exercising your constitutional right are that you get assaulted and dragged from a venue where you have a legal right to be.
Not struggle with the consequences. That is shameful. I think what we've got right now is a
People are shameful for exercising your constitutional
folks
rights.
are trying to filibuster and shut this whole program down. Unfortunately, they're being successful. To all of you who came here to hear the legislators, I applaud you for sitting there and quietly listening. I promise we will get back to you. In the meantime, we've just got to be a little aggressive with some of these folks here. Here, no, I should be removed. I should be allowed to cry and yell and scream. I should be allowed to interrupt.
Excuse me, Sheriff Morris. Miss Johnson is assaulting me. This man is assaulting me. This man is assaulting me.
Now she's getting disruptive. He put her hands on her.
No.
And nobody's doing anything. He keeps on trying to... Before this point, she was absolutely not being disruptive or interruptive at all. She was stating a concern. And now she's being disruptive and nobody's doing anything to help her. Because this man is clearly putting his hands on her, clearly assaulting her, trying to remove her because she is too inconvenient. I guess the truth is too inconvenient for their propaganda. This is what fascism looks like.
Why are they not all up in the aisles?
And everybody's just standing there. Nobody's helping her. If everybody around her who supported her just stood up and surrounded her or prevented her from being attacked like that, this would not have happened. There are more of us than there are of you, you fucking assholes. But nobody did anything.
I had the same reaction that a lot of Black women creators had, which is, how the fuck did nobody stand up and stop this?
Exactly.
But I understand this was Coeur d'Alene, so it is kind of a bastion of white supremacy. And I understand why a lot of the men there would do absolutely fuck all to help this woman. But she was not there alone. My initial reaction to the video as they're dragging her out is like, why is every woman in that place and any man who considers himself an ally not standing up and clogging the aisles so that they cannot remove this woman? Just putting your body in the way. Why are you not doing that? Why did you all sit and just watch this woman be assaulted by 3 men and dragged out? Right, so here is an image from that event. These 3 men, they're not law enforcement. This is fascism on full display. A woman bodily forcibly removed for exercising her constitutional rights by these 3 chuds. I don't know who they were, but again, the company.
And I know a lot of these idiots on social media who are on the right who claim, my right to freedom of speech means that I can say this or this or this on social media. Well, it's a little more complicated than that, right? The freedom of speech is the freedom to speak out against your government, okay? So when you're speaking on social media, first of all, that's a media platform controlled by a private entity. That is not considered free speech by any means. You're being censored right off the bat. Second of all, freedom of speech was intended to criticize the government without this reaction. You should be able to criticize what the government is doing without being arrested or any kind of threats. This is violence against those who are criticizing the government.
That they worked for has lost their license. As the chief of police encouraged this behavior and let it happen. I saw this on the 5051 movement's Instagram this morning, and again, this is another picture of these men forcibly restraining, assaulting this woman.
This is
this
disgusting.
tweet right here, we are underreacting.
We cannot let this happen again. This cannot happen again.
Right, so the more I have been thinking about this issue and then watching some other folks' reaction videos, and especially Black women being like, I would never let that happen to another woman. How are white women so enculturated to just sit passively by and let men assault another woman? And we are raised to not cause a fuss. We are raised to prioritize our own selves, to not experience any discomfort, but definitely not to put ourselves in harm's way for other women. This is why we as white women, we are not safe in general. So every time I've gone to sit down over the last day and a half and make a video response about this, I just feel such an extreme level of rage that I can't really talk about it. There is the level of rage, of course, these fascist men are going to behave this way. It's like, yes, I'm angry at what they did, but so much more am I angry that everybody else stood by and let it happen. Right, but isn't that the banality of evil? It's not just the people who are committing the atrocities. It's the multitudes who stand by and let it happen, knowing that it is wrong and refusing to summon up the courage to stand up. And I like to think that I believe in the goodness of people, that people will rise to the occasion and do the right thing.
The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
And so every time I watched that video or saw a video of somebody discussing it, I felt really bleak. I felt really discouraged. And then I saw Sad Beige Lady's video. I'm going to play a little bit of it here.
I'm seeing a lot of tweets that are like, it's absolutely chilling to watch this woman be dragged out of a town hall for dissenting with absolutely nobody coming to her aid. And I completely agree about that, but I also think that this is going to be a catalyst for white women who for the first time see themselves as part of the intended class of victims and not just like an accidental inclusion. And I hope as many people see this as possible, because I want these people to forever remember what shriveling cowards they were in the face of fascism.
At the end of the day, I think Sad Beige is correct. I think every white woman in America needs to see this. None of us are safe. None of us will be safe under fascism. No man will come to our aid. It's up to us to stand and fill the aisles, to put our bodies on the line for each other. We have strength in numbers. That if we don't rise up and stop this, this is what the future looks like for every woman who thinks that she's protected. This is what you're in for. Let this video be a wake-up call to you. Share it with every woman that you know.
And the Dropkick Murphys have a message for us as well.
To get back to the punk show, it reminds me that there are plenty in the music scene who will call this out.
Fucking country and go welcome with open arms so they can build a better life, then listen to us. If you were part of a union or working class people who were allowed to build a better life in the middle class in America, you listen to us.
The music scene who will call this out.
Fucking country and go welcome with open arms so they can build a better life, then listen to us. If you were part of a union or working class people who were allowed to build a better life in the middle class in America, you listen to us. Because if you're out there buying those hats that these swindlers are selling at that fair, I'm sorry kids, I know there's kids here, then you're part of the problem, and I'll tell you why. Because you're being duped by the greatest swindler in the history of the world. You're being duped by a bunch of grifters and billionaires who don't give a about you or your family. They care about their tax breaks and the money they can put in their pocket. If you consider yourself a patriot and you're spouting off that election denying, I will fight you outside if you want.
I will fight you. I will fight you. That's hilarious. He said, if you're spouting off that election denial bullshit, I'll fucking fight you. Oh, this guy's hilarious.
Don't give a about you or your family. They care about their tax breaks and the money they can put in their pocket. If you consider yourself a patriot and you're spouting off that election denying, I will fight you outside if you want to.
Oh, this guy's awesome.
These people are the rich, the billionaires, and they don't give a.
He's absolutely right. They don't give a fuck about you.
26 years as a band. If you call yourself a fan, you can give us 2 minutes.
Including the Dropkick Murphys, who are just freaking awesome. But they also have
awesome.
a common enemy with the Canadian punk band. A fan at their Terminal 5 show around.
Well, we're not going to watch the whole video. If you want to see it, it's on TYT Sports. Another video, the American Recovery Act canceled, leading to a 600% increase in this gentleman's insulin cost. Absolutely disgusting fallout from the Trump regime.
I'm on Medicare, and when Joe Biden was in there, my insulin was $6 for a 28-day supply. I just went to CVS to get my new supply. It went back up to $80, they said, because the American Recovery Act was canceled. So it went from $6 to $80. I'm on Medicare, and when Joe Biden was in there, my insulin was $6 for a 28-day supply. I just went to CVS to get my new supply.
We have another video from A More Perfect Union and their expose on growing inequality in Miami, something I've witnessed personally growing up in Florida.
I'm on Medicare, and when Joe Biden was in there, my insulin.
Welcome to Miami, a city whose bright lights and tropical weather have attracted bachelorette parties and beachgoers since the dawn of time.
Enjoy Miami.
But over the past 10 years, Miami's population of millionaires has nearly doubled. Enticed by Florida's lack of taxes, out-of-state billionaires are rapidly developing the city.
Hello, Miami, and hello, Florida.
So much so, its skyline is now the third tallest in the country, right behind New York and Chicago. But while Miami is touting a new era for the ultra-wealthy, the very people who build these skyscrapers are getting left behind.
Imagínate cómo es de irónica la vida, porque somos los que construimos casas, construimos edificios, y somos los que más sufrimos por pagar una renta.
Miami developers are known for building big projects incredibly quickly, no matter what.
Every 4 days in Florida, a construction worker dies on the job.
And workers are fleeing the state because of it.
Si no cambian las condiciones, obviamente, yo soy de las personas que no se queda donde está mal, yo me muevo.
Now, with a $3 billion urban redevelopment project on the line, one of the biggest in Miami's history, construction workers are fighting back. We went down to the 305 to figure out who will define the future of Miami's skyline. After 29 years of living in Seattle, Jeff Bezos made an announcement in 2023.
Jeff Bezos posting on Instagram last night that he's leaving Seattle after nearly 30 years. He's going to move to Miami.
The move to Florida saved him around $1 billion in capital gains and personal income taxes. But Bezos wasn't the only 1%er moving to Miami. From 2012 to 2022, 38,000 millionaires, 160 centimillionaires, and 12 billionaires moved into the city. In fact, Miami has more centimillionaires with second homes than any other city in the country. And now it's one of the most unequal and unaffordable places to live. This massive accumulation of wealth didn't happen by accident. Let's go back to December 2020, nearly a year into the pandemic. Self-described village idiot Delian Asparuhov, a venture capitalist, tweeted, "Okay guys, hear me out. What if we move Silicon Valley to Miami?" Miami Mayor Francis Suarez responded a few hours later, "How can I help?" Suarez rolled out the welcome mat to every morally questionable financial institution in America.
You know, we in Miami believe that government should facilitate, not that government should dictate.
Lured by low taxes and little regulation, crypto companies, investment firms, and billionaire founders flocked to South Florida.
This crypto bull from TradeStation really symbolizes how the gravitational center of gravity of the country has moved from San Francisco in venture capital and private equity in New York to the city of Miami.
Between 2020 and 2023, 105 financial firms relocated to South Florida, including the massive hedge fund Citadel and its billionaire CEO, Ken Griffin.
The men and women who serve in public office have a mindset of how can we help? It is a pro-get-it-done mindset that is often lacking in the northern cities.
As Miami quickly became Wall Street South, its skyline did too. Spurred by pro-development policies and regular changes that allowed buildings to be taller, luxury developers rushed to build. There are currently more skyscrapers under construction in Miami than in every West Coast state combined. But for the workers constructing Miami's growth, the wealth hasn't trickled down.
I thought to myself, how is it, that the very workers who we rely on to build our housing here in Miami can't afford a roof over their own heads?
Zaina Al-Sus is a director at We Count, an organization fighting for better living and working conditions in South Florida. She's standing up for the people Miami has left behind, people like Arturo.
Lo más bonito, pues, como siempre lo digo, es cuando el edificio se termina. Si me sacan un día voy a ir al edificio y me voy a sentar a tomar un café abajo para decir, estas luces las hice yo y eso. Esa es la parte que a mí me encanta, el ver mi trabajo terminado.
Arturo has been working as an electrician for the last 18 years across the US. He moved to Miami last year to be closer to his family.
No tenemos el nivel de vida que deberíamos de tener. Y no estamos pidiendo que sea exagerado. No quiero vivir como los desarrolladores, ni mucho menos, pero por lo menos tener las condiciones medias de un trabajador calificado como nosotros.
Lo de la renta de aquí de la Florida es una exageración.
Apparently, Streamlabs has mislabeled my video again. It does this from time to time. It uses an old description, and I apologize. The fucking thing needs to update. So let me update the description to the proper description. I just noticed that. I don't know. If you guys noticed that, please let me know, because it is a common glitch with Streamlabs. So it wasn't intentional. Let me update that. That's actually a really frustrating glitch with Streamlabs. All right.
That's Candido Ariel, a carpenter who lives in Little Havana with his wife, daughter, and grandson.
Ya vivir aquí en Miami ya es un lujo.
Since 2023, the average monthly rent of a two-bedroom apartment has risen over 21%. No major American metro area has seen such a steep rise.
We found that 8 out of 10 construction workers who we talked to, mind you, on projects valued at $10 million or above, 8 out of 10 of these workers had struggled to pay rent in the last year.
Yo estoy ganando menos que lo que yo ganaba hace 18 años.
Because of the way the industry is currently organized, really around subcontractors, what it's created is essentially a race to the bottom. So the companies that get the contracts tend to get contracts because they can offer to do the work for the lowest price. And so those who suffer the most in this arrangement are the workers.
Unfortunately, their suffering doesn't stop at salaries.
You know, every 4 days in Florida, a construction worker dies on the job. And that's completely related to the way in which labor standards have been degraded over time in the industry.
El trabajo de nosotros en la construcción es bastante difícil. Tú te levantas a las 4:30, 4:40 de la mañana y te vas. Tú no sabes si vas a regresar. Yo he visto muchos accidentes de personas que pierden la vida en la industria de la construcción.
In 2024, Candido Ariel worked on Block 55, a mega project for industry titan Swerdlow Group. He fell 4 floors trying to remove an anchor from a parking lot pillar, suffering bruises across his entire upper body. He was sent to a company-owned clinic to recuperate.
Simplemente el chequeo médico, te dicen estás bien y vete para tu casa. Solo te quedan viendo donde te golpeaste y dicen, estás bien, vaya, va a trabajar.
There's a lot of pressure in the construction industry for contractors to move from project to project. This includes asking or requiring workers to work long hours. When you add into it outdoor work, especially during the summer months when the heat has been so intense, this also has an impact on workers' health and safety and their ability to protect themselves when the pace of work is increasing.
It is a South Florida scorcher. It is so hot outside and there's not many ways to beat the heat.
En la mañana está tal vez la temperatura a 100, 105, 110.
80% of construction workers in South Florida who we surveyed didn't receive any kind of heat safety training. People can die. They can pass out. They can experience really severe illnesses, kidney failure.
Hay muchas compañías de que no tienen un lugar donde tú puedas descansar. Donde si tú te das un golpe de calor o te sientes mal, no tienen directamente una clínica en el proyecto donde te puedan llevar, te puedan a recuperarte.
While pay is unjustifiably low for these jobs, even in the safest conditions, workers like Arturo and Candido are lucky if they even get to see that money reach their wallets. 31% of the qualifying Miami construction workers we surveyed didn't receive the overtime pay they deserved.
Hay gente que ha venido y nunca no ha salido de otro estado, solo aquí en la Florida o en Miami para ser específico, y ellos no saben qué cosa es overtime. Y vos sabes que ese es un robo. Es un robo a todas luces por donde lo mires.
I think that if you're gonna turn construction into an industry in which people are being forced to risk their lives for poverty wages, I think we're gonna be in for a rude awakening when these worker shortages only continue to expand.
Ya no tengo edad para estarme moviendo, pero las condiciones laborales sí me empujarían a moverme.
As the pace of building intensifies in Miami, developers are struggling to find workers, but instead of addressing the problem, industry leaders and politicians are doubling down on the policies that created it. The leading construction industry lobbying group, the Associated Builders and Contractors, or ABC, came out with a report last year that celebrated Florida as one of the top states in the country for construction. Its rationale? Florida's low wages, lack of safety standards, and laws that make it harder for workers to unionize.
No estoy tan enterado de los sindicatos ¿Cuántos sindicatos hay aquí en la Florida? Pero los que hay, sí sé que son débiles, porque si no me he enterado, quiere decir que no tienen fuerza.
Trade union membership in South Florida is now at an alarmingly low 7%, down 60% over the last 30 years. All of this is by design. Industry groups like ABC have spent tens of millions of dollars lobbying for this reality.
Because developers have been able to amass such enormous amounts of wealth in this country, which has then, led them to being able to donate millions of dollars to political campaigns. It unfortunately does set up a kind of pay-to-play dynamic and system.
And Miami's Mayor Suarez is not naive to this system.
So what we know now is that Mayor Francis Suarez was getting paid $10,000 a month for at least a period of almost 2 years by a developer, Rishi Kapoor.
I'm done. Thank you. I'm done.
In fact, Suarez has received over $2.5 million in donations from the development, construction, and real estate industry over the course of his career to do the bidding of developers. He got another $1 million from Republican mega donor Ken Griffin when the billionaire was planning to relocate his hedge fund to Biscayne Bay.
When you face a deluge of bureaucracy and waiting for permits and waiting for a meeting and waiting for this and waiting for that, it really kills the entrepreneurial life of a business. And it's such a contrast to be here in South Florida where you can make some pretty amazing things happen and you can do it really quickly.
Workers may not have the money to compete with billionaires like Griffin, but they are beginning to fight back. The Swerdlow Group's proposed redevelopment plans in Little Haiti and Little River are monstrous. A 65-acre multi-use property including a train station. It is the white whale of Florida commercial developments.
We're literally building South Florida.
Sin trabajadores de construcción, no hay edificios, no hay apartamentos, y sin apartamentos y edificios, no hay progreso.
WeCount and its members, alongside over 25 unions and community organizations, are insisting on a collective bargaining agreement for the project that addresses a living wage, responsible contracting, independent monitoring, and on-site urgent cares. WeCount is also proposing to combine these urgent cares with cooling centers to combat the extreme heat as Miami summers just get hotter.
La lucha no para ahí. ¿Viste? Eso es el primer paso. Sería grandioso si logramos con don Michael Swerdlow. De ahí la lucha sigue.
While negotiating a contract on such a behemoth development is a step in the right direction, the industry will need a larger overhaul to guarantee institutional change.
And it's going to be incumbent on government enforcement agencies to closely monitor construction work sites to ensure that the health and safety rules and regulations are being followed. Now, advocates have long criticized our existing wage and hour laws in this country as not having sufficient penalties against violators. In many states, we have a situation where the penalty is just to pay the workers what they were owed. That is not a sufficient deterrent to those employers that willfully are denying workers the payment for the work that they've completed. And so we need much more targeted enforcement efforts.
The Trump administration's response to these issues remains to be seen. However, his recent firings don't bode well for workers at large.
What Trump did is essentially neuter the National Labor Relations Board. So right now, union-busting corporations like Amazon and others can do what they do against workers with impunity.
You know, on a more optimistic note, we do see workers continually trying to organize their workplaces in the construction industry. And we see the emergence of a range of workers' rights organizations that are helping those workers advocate for their rights, both in terms of health and safety on the job and also in terms of wage and hour violations and getting rid of wage theft.
There's a lot of irony in this story, but perhaps the simplest irony of all is that if these bad actors were held accountable, then the workforce that is rapidly fleeing to find better conditions elsewhere might actually want to stay and build.
Porque los trabajadores de la construcción tenemos derecho. Así como trabajamos, tenemos derecho. Ocupan nuestras manos para desarrollar, que ocupen las de ellos para darnos nuestro beneficio.
Just a quick Anti-sellout disclaimer: if you believe in independent research, worker empowerment, and waking up from the capitalist propaganda machine, support this show. Because I don't work for corporations, I work for you. If you want to keep us going and you want to help keep my lab lights on, please take a like, grab a comment, and gather some shares or spread this information to those who would appreciate it. In closing, people like James Lindsay, Jordan Peterson, and Ben Shapiro don't want you to understand Marxism. They want you to fear it. Because if you actually studied it, you might realize they're full of shit. While celebrities might seem to maintain a persona of relatability, they live in a completely different world, and their wealth accumulation perpetuates a system that is on the brink of total collapse. I want to thank you all so much for taking the red pill with me this evening. Stay skeptical, stay curious, and as always,